what did we think of price action this week? Good, bad, decent. I felt it was pretty good. Definitely the wrong day to take off. Or definitely the wrong week to take off. Well, I didn't take off. I still streamed all day. When I go on my cruise, I'm gonna try to stream, but we'll see. Um, yeah. So I honestly thought price action was pretty good this week. Really really good week. Um, I think the main reason was we had such an obvious draw on liquidity. I think this made it really easy. Would you guys agree? Why was the draw on liquidity bullish all time highs this week? Yeah, we had LRLR up here, and also we inversed this fair value gap in the higher time frame. So going into this week, because like when you see us, like, would you guys agree this is good momentum? Yeah, 100%. This is really good momentum. So when I see this, it makes it for a really easy bias. And I said that I actually publicly tweeted on Twitter for free, saying I'm using this daily IFG for bias this week. Now, going into a bullish week, the best day to get a low of week is Tuesday or Wednesday, and we actually did get a low of week on Tuesday. So that kind of was more support that Tuesday and Wednesday, and we're gonna pump. Does that make sense? See how we formed a low here? This was actually Tuesday. If you don't know anything about weekly profiles, forming a low week on a Tuesday is a good sign, especially if you're going in bullish for the week. Tuesday or Wednesday, you want to see that low form. So because of this daily IFG right here, we generally knew it was going to be a pretty easy bullish week. So now I don't really use the daily for bias. Why don't I usually use the daily for bias? Not too big. Yeah, it's kind of been like it's the answer's kind of clutter. It's we got clutter here, 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 here. I don't really know what to do with that. I only used the daily this week because it was a lot clearer. It's super super clear here. So I only use the daily bias when it's obvious. Other than that, I don't really use it. I felt like this was obvious enough to use a daily chart. Does that make sense? But typically, I will not use a daily. This is just how the hell are you? I hate all these guys. Like, I don't hate the videos. I don't hate the guys themselves, but like people like Casper, T Trades, they make all these daily bias videos. Like, how to determine the daily bias, and they're all saying use the daily candle and see what if we break a lower high, and then you get this shit on the daily, bro. You do not predict the daily bias with this shit. It will not help you. I'm telling you. I hate the videos they make on that because that's hindsight. Um, the only time you want to use daily bias is when it's super super obvious, and here it's super obvious, so I'd use it here. But all them guys, they make all these hindsight ass videos, and like I would not want to predict these candles. There's just no way I'd try to predict this shit. It's not obvious. So just be careful learning daily bias. People who just use daily candles. I'm telling you, that's gonna mess you up. Because you're gonna get married to something that's completely wrong. Like, what the hell are you supposed to do when we gap up here and then we create this ass candle? Like, you're supposed to do nothing. It's tough. You don't know what to do. That's the problem. So the only reason I was bullish this week and I was using the dailies because it was pretty obvious. Now because we formed a high on Thursday, we were. I mean, I kind of made the mistake of not expecting TJF, but what TGIF is basically on Friday if we've already hit like if we've already gone up like and we've so let me show you. I think it's you go back to 30%. So the start of the week, this was the low of the week, Tuesday. If the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday candle are bullish, which technically the Thursday candle wasn't, but that's okay. Then on Friday, you expect us to retrace back to at least 30% of the range or whatever. So like somewhere around here. I'm not sure exactly where 30% is, and you can see price does. Kind of my mistake on Friday for not really expecting that. I thought we are gonna get a cleaner setup up here, or I thought we are gonna get it like up here. Like this is where I was expecting to get it. But we never really got it till down here, which is still fine, you know. So going over like Monday, I feel like Monday wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't the best. Monday, the only two trades I would have taken was this one here, which would this have been a loss? I need to make a video on break even, so I'm gonna make a video on that eventually. But again, this would not have been a loss, and it's not. Here's the thing: how many times when we've hit a low or some sort of sell side, whatever it may be, how many? So we kind of came off this fair value gap a little bit. See how he wicked off this fair value gap? That's a bullish sign. So it draws to the left. You can see the body's not broke it. If we're coming off fair value gap and we get this momentum here, how many times out of 10 should we do this right back to here? Out of nine, like if you had to guess a percentage, yeah, at least 9 out of 10 times you're gonna see like if this high is gonna hit, this will not stall here. I'm telling you, this will not stall. So like in this situation, you definitely want to go to break even at this internal high, knowing that like you do not want to see us pull back down here because 9 times out of 10, especially after this momentum, we will not pull back here. And that's just something I learned off screen time. So that I did get stopped at break even on that one. I did take it. I alerted that on a premium. And then I also re-entered here, which I think I re-entered in the 30-second, but I also alerted this as well. And it was the same idea. The body still held this gap. And would you guys agree this was good momentum back up? Yeah, 100%. Good momentum back up. So I also alerted that one. And see how this one blasts through the internal high right here? It doesn't even stall one bit. That's what you want to see. So I knew this was going to be a good trade and probably go higher after that because you do not want to see that stall at all. So that was a good trade. Now, I think I took the 1-to-1 on it. I did not hold that long. I think I sold what I sold for the 1-to-1 target, wherever that was, because it was. I don't want to gamble this bearish fair value gap is going to break, so I actually sold pretty early. But you can see if you didn't sell, it was a decent trade. But it depends on it honestly would depend on your conviction at that point. Now the funny thing is, do I even care about the rest of the day? No. I mean, you see this and you see this, and that's two setups. One was a break even, one was a good win. I'm not trading the rest of the day. And it just looks like it's just trash. Now, if you did trade, I mean, you could have taken this. Honestly, not the best setup because we didn't sweep this low. But if this was I think this was actually an SMT if I'm not mistaken. So actually, it was a good setup because this was an SMT. But still, it's after 11 o'clock time. I felt like price action was good enough in the AM to not trade lunch this day, so I would not have probably touched lunch or after 11. Even this was terrible. Terrible. I was telling I don't even know what I was saying. I was just saying not to trade. I'm like, imagine trading this. This is like, why would you trade this shit when you've already taken this? And that's why some people, when they start trading the PM, it kind of sucks because we already got a few textbook setups in the AM, and it's like, oh, well, we got good AM. You might not get bad. You might not get good PM. You know. So that was definitely interesting. Can you please stop sending the Fortnite shit in this? Please, thank you. And again, it's laughable watching this because I know people are who haven't traded for the day who missed this or trying to make something happen here. They're trying to make a play happen here when they really should not be. And I think that's a lot of people's problem. Dan, it did though. It took this new internal high. And this is one of like there are trades where I will not go to break even. It depends. It depends like what I'm thinking. This trade I would because I know once this internal hits, I know how high probability this is to just keep going straight up. And I do not want to see us pull back there. Same thing with this one here. You go to break even here because we should not pull back after this. Especially off this momentum. If you hit that internal high and don't pull back, I'm telling you, 7 times out of 10, that will go back to the lows. You just don't want to see it. And it's because we're coming off of such an important spot. There will be times I don't go to break even, though. It just depends on the setup. And I think the problem with it, what do you think the problem with this setup is? Why would I go to break even here? Like, what's another reason? Monday, yes. And there's, yeah, exactly what Kakaman said. There's not really, like, it's not like there's a data high above. It's not like there's equal highs above. Like, if there's equal highs, sure, I won't go to break even. I mean, there's just no real targets above. That was a problem. Like, the difference between that setup and the one setup for life we got on, what was it, Wednesday? Yeah, right here. Like, this one, so I actually did go to break even in this one. I stopped off for break even, then I just re-entered. But I was also on a beach, not really in the mode to trade. I don't think I would have stopped out if I was home sitting my PC. But this one, like, I feel like you shouldn't go to break even because we have a real target above. Like, it's the one setup for life. I'm gonna let this play out every time, you know. Like it's such an important liquidity pool. Like I'll let this play out, and I know everyone on Twitter is taking this. I know all the good traders are taking this. I'll let it take out, and I'll take the loss like everyone else on Twitter because I know everyone's gonna trade this. So like we have a real target there versus before. Like on Monday, we didn't really have a real target. It was just kind of whatever. It was just kind of like a pattern play, if you like. So how do you tell if a liquidity level will be swept more than once? You can't. I mean, I guess time, like if it's a macro, it should not be, but maybe if it's like chopping, then you may be expected to, but definitely, I don't know. I would need to see some examples. Why'd I re-enter there? Because I'm like, I a conviction. I'm like, this shit's gonna work. That's why. I actually, so I enter on the close above. Here's the thing. I enter in the close above because I have so much conviction in these setups. I don't need to wait for the retracement. I mean, if you really want to get better RR, then wait for the retracement. But half the time you're not going to get it. And if you have the conviction anyways, why wait for the retracement? I mean, that's just what conviction is. So that's what I do. I enter in the close. How many ticks do I aim for? I aim for 1 to 2R. It just depends. So, yeah. So let me go over Tuesday. So Tuesday. I said this would probably be a long setup on Tuesday. I said this would probably be a soup. Now, did I know where it was going to be soup? No, I had no idea. But we had these equal lows down here. So I figured these equal lows were going to be a soup because it's just protocol that this void and after sweeping equal lows. And let's say you didn't know it was going to be soup here. Okay, let's say you didn't know, but you saw us sweep these equal lows. By here, you should know that we should go fill this void here. That's just protocol. This is a giant void. This is not a fair reality gap. And by that candle, you should know that that was a soup, and you should be looking for a long setup. Now you really can't get in. There wasn't really any inverse model to get in here, but it's just protocol to like when you see a reaction off this off a major level, and you know the weekly bias is bullish. You're expecting this to be filled. And that's a lot of knowledge. That's a lot of ICT knowledge. So I wouldn't expect everyone to know that, but yeah, I mean, No, I try not to be 100% mechanical. I just kind of teach like that in the beginning, so that I teach people to trade mechanically in the beginning, and then they'll slowly learn. Okay, they'll slowly build conviction through the mechanical trades, and then they'll start building their own conviction and be like, oh, maybe I won't put out the break even here. I've seen this play out before, so it's kind of like I kind of train them on bicycle wheels at first, and then they kind of fly on their own after a year, and they kind of make like they kind of decide whether they want to put this out to break even depending on their experience. So that's why I teach like that. Yeah, I don't think you can be profitable with mechanical trading either. For start, I do max 2 trades a day, but once you get good, definitely max 2 losses a day. But there's definitely there's definitely a balance with like knowing like, okay, I've taken 2 good trades. Like, what's the point of trading anymore? You know, what's up, Eli? How you been doing? Now, I did take the long here in premium chat on Tuesday. I actually took this candle close for fun because I knew we were gonna hit these high off that, so I knew it was gonna be a break even trade. Um, and I would have targeted this high and this high because I know why those highs. Well, the daily bias is bullish, so why not target those highs? But J Powell is actually speaking at 10 o'clock, so I would have scaled earlier and I would have gotten stopped on runners just because I know J Powell speaking. And if you know anything about news will manipulate down or whatever, like before J Powell or whatever, and then we'll go up. I don't think a lot of people realize that. So J Powell started speaking somewhere around here. We manipulate down and then we go up because it stops everyone out before the news comes out. Um, and then I did also alert this setup as well. I felt like this is a good setup. Just a lot of people were wondering like why didn't I wait for a sweep here, but it's just the momentum, man. We had equal highs here too, so I knew it'd be a free trade since these are equal highs. And I mean that momentum was just too fire not to take it. So exit. I just punished myself by being disciplined in real life. I entered here. I entered actually a little before the close because the candle's about to close and we already had like in live time this candle had so much speed. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna at least hit the equal highs. So I knew at least I can move south to break even because of this momentum. And yeah, so I entered kind of up. I entered like I think I entered like right here. So this data low did not make sense to hit because we know the data because the daily bias is bullish here. We were inside an IVG in the daily, and we don't want to see us go lower here. So it didn't make sense in context for this to hit. Yeah, most people who struggle sell at like 5-10 points. They never hold runners. They never try to target more. There's a guy in my Discord who's literally been learning this shit for a year, and I swear every time he shows me his executions, he takes good trades and he sells for freaking 5 points. I'm like, bro, why are you selling so early? I mean, and then he'll have like one trade a week where he gets 30 points, but like 99% of the other trades he sells for like 5 points. I used to do the same thing. I can't lie, but it definitely took time to hold. Holding is so hard, but it's easier when you start seeing the setup play out a ton, you'll start to build trust in it. But that was my number one problem when I first started trading. I just didn't hold. I didn't hold till the TP because I was scared it wasn't gonna hit. I started holding till the TP. I think it took me 3 years, 3 fucking years to hold till the TP, man. Excuse my language, but I cannot hold to the TP, bro, because I had losing trauma. I had losing PTSD from when I first started trading. I lost so much where I was afraid to hold winners. So I just kind of learned and started trusting a setup, and I'm like, okay, well I've seen this before. I'm gonna hold this, you know. Is there a specific RR? I mean, yeah, I look for like 2R, 1R. If I see a really high probability half R trade, I'll half size and take it light, but I try not to take those too much. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, everyone will pull out early when they're new because you don't know what should hit and what shouldn't hit. Half the time you think I'm gonna pull out a trade like here. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking like 5 different things. I'm like, okay, daily bias is bullish. We're coming off a daily IPG. I'm not gonna sell here. I'm actually gonna hold till this because I have conviction in this because of a whole different time frame. And that's where new traders don't understand. I'm doing multi-time frame analysis in my head from years of experience, and I don't think they understand that. And it's hard to teach. Like I teach it, but they forget. Max two trades is like a sweet spot. I think if you see 2 solid setups in a day, I think you're good. Bro, Eli, you don't understand. When you were in my Discord those few months, bro, I couldn't. There was nothing to hold. That was the worst price action ever. That was just a seasonality thing. Do you remember? Do you guys remember when like I was like scalping a lot more than I was like in the past couple months? This is like around January, December. Like I could never get a 50-point trade, never, because we just kept. Yeah, it was just horrible. And I told people, I'm like, I feel bad for people just joining my Discord now because I try to hope for bigger moves, but I really can't lately. It's hard. It was hard. So it depends on the seasonality, to be honest. It's definitely now that we're all time highs, it's definitely gonna be a little harder. Like this trade, you could have like this was an easy 50-point trade right here. Why? Because I knew the daily bias was bullish. It was very obvious. It wasn't choppy, and I could hold that for 50 points. Now we're at all time highs. I mean, it's gonna be a little tougher, but it just depends on the seasonality, you know. Wednesday, extremely textbook here. I'm gonna make an IVG daily review later, but very textbook. We had no data wick here, so there's no data low here. Again, it needs to be in a normal wick. We didn't really get that here, so I would not count that. So we're delivering off of this. The daily bias is bullish. Good momentum back up. We hit the point 50. We um we we swept another low here. I mean, this is just as textbook as it gets. A lot of and then typically we're like I'm already in from the bottom, but typically where people like Justin and Hydra will enter would be like would be here. They'll enter this gap here, or they'll enter this or like they'll enter this gap here. 5-minute traders here would not get an entry, but they'll definitely enter here. But I'm entering off this candle because I had the conviction, and then I'm expecting this to hold. I mean, I could wait for this, but you never know if it's gonna retrace. Um, big. I think just context of knowing the daily was bullish. I would not expect this to get filled. It's just a screen time thing. Like I knew the daily was bullish, so there's makes no sense. Now you could say, "Oh, we're gonna fill this void." Like you could say that, but one, there's no short setups to go fill it, and we only get one setup coming out of it, and it's a long setup. So even if you thought we're gonna go fill this void at this point, we have no inversion set up to short, and we have equal highs above. So when I see this immediately, I'm long. I'm not. I don't care about filling this void. Like I see this, I'm playing what I see here. Does that make sense? Like even if you did expect this void to fill, like you saw this, you would long because you know that we're bouncing from this. In hindsight, I think this is gonna work in live time now. So the 930. Oh, wait. The 930 for rally, yep. I don't know what you're talking about. 930 was right here. There was no gap. I would say the 15-minute or the 5-minute Moss. I don't know. It's a private indicator. I don't know how to share it with you guys. Someone's got to have the link. I mastered the strategy first, then I mastered psychology after. I mean, I wouldn't even say master psychology. Bro, did anyone watch Harrison Butker's speech? I was laughing the whole time, bro. Sorry, that was off topic. I just thought that speech was kind of funny. As soon as he opened his mouth about the Catholic stuff, I'm like, what are you? It's a commencement speech. What are you talking about? Like, why would he start talking about that during a commencement speech? Yeah, it's psychology is not a one-step thing. Yeah, exactly. So really good setup there. Oh, the 937 one. Yeah. So Lewis took that one, and so basically I kind of talked about this one. I'm like, this should work, but at the same time I was saying do not trade this because it was just too choppy, and we never hit the 50. And Lewis ended up alerting this, and it was a loss for him. I almost think he has an alt account on my streams because I said this should work. Not the greatest RR. We are too choppy. It's just not a set I take. I think you lack context of choppiness here. That's why it fails. Well, we never hit the internal high, did we? The candle closed and we did not hit the internal high, and I would not have moved south to break even here because there's equal highs here. So, and we have a real target. And at this point, I knew this was AMD too, so I'm like, okay, this should work. Right, you got your accumulation here. Here's the manipulation, and then you get your distribution. So, yeah, pretty much, Eli. Yeah, that's the guy who copies me on Instagram without crediting me. Jake, I entered just because of speed, and I figured this was AMD in the first place, and I figured this would be a soup. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna go to these equal highs. That's why I entered. It's just like a screen time thing. Like I know from the speed, we're gonna go up anyways at that point. It's just, and the speed of this candle live time was just so good. So that was kind of why I entered. And then I would not have traded the rest of the day. Would not have traded. Do you see any death candles here? Yeah, there's no single death candle here. So would not have trusted any short. But this is definitely where people try shorting. But again, daily was bullish, so I'm not like we were expecting this pump. And then I think it ended up hitting it at all-time highs hit here in Asia. I think it was this level right here or something. It hit on this wick. I think it was 17.909, I think it was. So we hit it during Asia. This is a pretty good inverse. Got more AMD here. A death candle is a candle that violates like 50 million bullish gaps and bullish OBs in one candle. And it tells you the order flow is probably going to change. It's not the same as just a giant red candle. It has to be a giant red candle that actually violates 3 or 4 different things. If it's just a giant red candle, that means nothing. Like this giant red candle does not violate this bearish gap. It's not a death candle. I mean, it is technically, but a death candle violates a ton of things in its way. What I call it. So, yeah, I do KG. It's in my boot camp. And then this was the setup Thursday. Obviously, self-explanatory. There's an SMT here, so basically, yes, hit the low, and then Q did not. Again, really, really good setup. And again, that's another setup where I have a real target. I don't think there's a need to go to break even until like we hit like here. Also, the interesting thing about this setup is I cannot watch ES at the same time, but just look at ES, man. I'll show you what ES looks like here. ES like did not pull back at all. Look at this. ES just did not pull back. So if I was watching ES, which I couldn't because I was on a beach on my phone, I would not have gotten out because ES just didn't pull back. Wait, what's going on? When's the last time I won a bad tilt? I don't know. I don't remember. It was a month ago when I wrote something about it in the announcements, but that was the first time in like 6 months, and I punished myself. So basically, I traded when I should not have, and I didn't get a payout because of it. But I should have gotten like 3 payouts, and I didn't get a payout. So I got a payout, but I should have gotten more. I made an announcement like a month ago about it, and I ended up running a mile after that, and in 5:45, which is extremely fast for 205 pounds. That shit was not easy. I'm 6 foot. 6 foot, 205. I ran a 5:45 mile. Like the whole time I was running, I was thinking like, I was like, why did I do that? Why? Like I'm just thinking about it. What's my UTR? It's only 5. I mean, it was 6 at one time, but it's only 5. I never took lessons growing up, but I'm decent. My serve is the best part because I'll ace people and slice it out way out wide on the do side. They can't get it. It's so funny. I've like mastered that serve. Yeah, I'm 205, 6 foot. My vertical, I don't know. I need my vertical higher. I can dunk like it takes me 10 attempts, but I can't dunk. Barely. I don't know. All right. Um I dunked last weekend on a 10-foot rim. It took me like 10 tries though. Well, maybe like 6. No, basketball. Why? What's yours, K9? I feel like you're actually good because you just asked me that question. Age 20, Jay. That's when I started trading prop firms, anyways. Yo, Biss, are you the guy with the Aston Martin? Nah, dude, the Knicks are fine. Oh, yeah, see, you're probably gonna be better than me then. I didn't know how to play tennis in high school. I started playing as a joke. I hit it over the fence the whole time. Bro, I want an Aston Martin, but I feel like people won't know what it is. Unless you're a car person, you know. Yeah, the car people will. No, K9. That's too expensive. That's out of my pay grade. All right. Friday. This is the last day I want to go over real quick. Um, Friday. A lot of people are wondering like why this setup was good because we didn't sweep below. I mean, mainly it was just how he delivered off of this gap, and I mean, really, this candle just blasted right above, so I felt like this was a really good setup. I said this would definitely work. There's just no way that was gonna fail. Um, so that was a good setup, and people are wondering why this wasn't a good setup. Why was this not a good setup? My Bugatti's invisible. It's transparent. That's what it is. We did take liquidity. We took this low here. To the left, I'm not sure. To the left, we did take a decent amount of liquidity too. To the left, right here. All right. So here's the thing. One, the first thing is this candle is just way too high. I mean, that's just horrible RR. And two, we had an external fair value up here that we did not break. That's the main reason right here. If this was not here, then this probably would have delivered to this high right away. But the fact that this is here just makes it a worse setup. So, yeah. And then this obviously worked because momentum. And I also took a 15-second long. I slapped this shit. This was just such a good setup. I mean, V-shape recovery, instantly jumped. Instantly, like I know this is going to be a soup after I see this reaction. We had decent liquidity above. We had like 3 consecutive highs here, 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 and then here, here, here. So I'm like, yeah, this is probably going to be ran. I was not expecting to take a trade here. I'm not going to lie. Like, I had no idea I was about to get a trade. And then 5 seconds later, I'm like, oh my God, this is a good long setup. And I ended up taking it. I actually shorted this in my premium on paper account. I shorted this dump just for fun to see what would happen. And then 5 seconds later, it's a long setup. I'm like, all right, guys, I'm actually taking this for real. I was taking on my eval, but I need my 250Ks. This is a good setup. I think people are confused because I was shorting for fun on paper, but I would not short at all-time highs unless we have really obvious equal lows, and it kind of helps weed out the signal bots not really following a model, just copying me. So I felt like that was fine. I was surprised. I asked who took the short with me, and no one typed 1. But I bet you if it won, people would have typed 1. People are because I just want to make sure no one's copying me and they actually trade an actual model. You know. Moss, you can make it better for sure. Um, yeah, and then if you took this and you took it all the way to like this high here, and then this, obviously the final target didn't hit. Would you want to trade the rest of the day? Especially being a Friday when we already got good price action the rest of the week. Yeah, absolutely not. I would not want to keep trading. So really good setup. And if this was a loss, this is what people won't understand. If this is a loss, I would have stopped trading too. I mentioned something in my Discord last week and on my live, but basically I said this. It was this setup right here. I basically said, I'm like, okay, this is an alert. This isn't going to be an alert. Even if this is a loss, I would stop trading for the day. Why? Because you have to think opposite. Every time someone takes a setup like this and it's a good trade, and the majority of people will stop trading after the trade because it's such a good setup, and why would you keep trading? But those same people, the majority of people who won't stop trading after taking this loss or after taking this win, or my God, the majority of the people who would stop trading if this is a win would not say the same for if this is a loss. They would keep trading. And this is just one of those setups where it's good enough to where whether it was a win, which that's high probability to be a win, or a loss, you would stop trading. Because I guarantee you if it was a loss, like if you took the loss here and it was a loss, I guarantee you if it was a win, people would have stopped. But they think it's a loss. Oh, I need to keep trading. But they don't understand. If this was a loss, I would have been done trading too. I would have done the same thing I would have done if it was a win. Does that make sense? Because it's just such a good setup. That's how you save yourself. Now, I get it. If the setup's like mid-tier and it's a loss, then yeah, I guess you can keep trading. But if it's a setup like that and you just know it's a good setup and it fails, just stop trading. Because people don't do the opposite of what they should do. A CLZ. I don't even care how many people are funded. I only care if people get payouts. Getting funded is not hard at all. Do you have like a long video that details your... I have it on my YouTube, I mean my strategy. Go over to my playlist to my strategy. Yeah, exactly, KG. Yeah, go to YouTube and the my strategy playlist. Yeah, trade day is kind of hard, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think so, Kakaman. Um, this was a good setup. I said this was a good setup. I said this was an A minus setup. I think A minus because we were at all time highs and didn't trust it, but it wasn't a bad setup. Years of experience, CLZJ. That's you could be an ICT master all you want, but if you do not have that down, you will not do well. Sagil, you cope with it by coping with it. Just just not being mad. I don't know. You have to learn how to cope with it after it happens a bunch of times. It's just hard to explain. I hate answering those questions because it's not a single answer. Oh, the 5 minute. So would you guys agree that this price action was pretty good in the morning, where everything was pretty much respected the whole time, from 8:30 to 11 o'clock? Here's 11 o'clock right here. Would you say it was pretty good price action and pretty volatile, whatever? Eh, yeah, I would say yes. Everything was getting respected. This was respected. This was respected. This was respected. We weren't really going out of the lines. So that typically means you do not want to trade lunch. And you can see lunchtime gave a textbook long setup. And I told my chat, I'm like, please only tape read this. Do not take. I never said do not take, but I said tape read, A plus setup. And it failed. And I'm like, I told you guys, don't tape read it only. And then I said the next long setup should work because it was after lunch. Because this happened at 12:50 during lunch when price action was already good in the morning, it tends to fail a lot more. And we'll tend to generate that more liquidity there because of time, and we will not run that liquidity till the afternoon. So because this is LRLR forming, we actually form more liquidity to run for in the afternoon. And then when we started dumping, I alerted, I said, guys, the next long should work. The next long, so I was like, I alerted this one, and that didn't trigger. So I do another alert, and I said, this is the next one. So I'll show you guys what happened. So I literally just kept saying, this should be the next one. I said, this would be the next one. And that was an R. That was like 3R. And then I said, this is where I just stop watching until we set alerts. So I just kept watching. And then I said, next one, I had a premium again. And then 2, 3, 4, I said, next one again. Because I knew we were going to run this at some point. I just didn't know when. So I was waiting for the next one to happen. And I got 16 laughing about it. Everyone was laughing at me because we were just dumping. And they're like, oh, we're not getting an inverse. And then I took it finally. And I said, I told you guys the next one will work. And then I scaled more there. And then I scaled more there. And then people started reacting. So it was just kind of funny because everyone was laughing at me. And no, it was a win, Sanjel. Oh, no, the 5 minute, that was a loss. That would not have been a break even. No, K9, I just kind of scale where I feel like the market's going to hit. It's not one thing. All right. Does anyone have any more questions? The 135 setup? This setup here? Um, it would have been a break even trade because we made a new internal high, then hit it. Just not. I don't know. Just not good price action, I guess. Again, I would not have taken the trade because I would have been done in the morning here. I would not have been in a live account for this. It just goes back to the fact that we had good price action in the morning. We're going to get some losses in the afternoon. It's just inevitable. 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 So, yeah, the 10.1 seemed to be like the sweet spot. The 1 minute fair value near 1145. This is a good one. There's nothing wrong with this one. Now I probably would not have taken this one because I felt like I would have needed to see this flow swept, but I mean it worked. um, I mean technically that wouldn't be valid because we close away. Like this didn't close above, and this one closed above, but we already kind of wicked above this, so it's just not a setup I would have taken. But it worked, I guess. Yeah, pretty much, Castle. I knew we were gonna run it. I was just waiting for the volume to come in. You could tell the volume came in here. What do you mean, Melia? Bias for this week is gonna start off bullish. Until I see like a death candle through all this, I'm gonna just remain bullish. If we get a death candle through all this, then yeah, I'll be bearish, but not bearish yet. You know. All right. I think that's gonna be it for now. No, I'm not for now, day and night. I'm just gonna trade. I will see you all later. Thanks for coming. Peace.